When do I get to go hunting homeless people for sport? Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. I know many of you have become accustomed to bringing along your tinfoil hats these videos of late. You know why that is? Dave, who wrote today's video. That's because whenever we do a conspiracy theory video, people watch. And I like it when people watch my videos because I like money. Because I like money, okay? Look, morally bankrupt. What? Not morally bankrupt, creatively bankrupt. That's the one. If you're new here, I read Dave's script. I'm Simon. That's the show. Let's go. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I feel like I recorded a bunch. It's been 2 weeks and I'm like, how do I do this again? No. Today's subject matter might just blast through regular tinfoil, leaving your hat a shredded, pointless mess and the brain underneath it more scrambled than the basement lizard eggs that Danny sometimes whips up with an old power drill. So, today, let's dive headfirst into the rabbit hole that is the Joe Rogan podcast. Hold tight. The January 6th riot. Yeah, that never happened. What a conspiracy theory. On January, obviously they did. It's just a joke. I'm sure below this video there will be a little thing from like YouTube saying, don't, Wikipedia says that this is the fact check or something like this. On January 6th, 2021, rioters stormed the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. during a protest against President Joe Biden's victory over former President Donald Trump. As a result of this riot, many people were injured and 4 people lost their lives. The following is an accurate description, meaning a description backed up with verifiable facts of exactly how this came to happen. After the Trump campaign team utterly failed to have hundreds of thousands of votes discounted in various states won by Joe Biden, John Eastman, among other things, a formerly well-respected lawyer, told the then president that the vice president at that time, Mike Pence, had the constitutionally ratified power to reject votes during his ceremonial counting on January 6th. While many people who know more about both American law and the American Constitution than I have since proven this to be incorrect, Trump ran with it and spent an inordinate amount of time attempting to bully his vice president into doing just that. Pence, for his part, did everything short of publicly declaring that the president was insane to make it perfectly clear that not only was he not going to do this, but he, in fact, could not do this. Nevertheless, Trump, his personal ally Rudy Giuliani, and several others remained certain that around lunchtime on January the 6th, the vice president would reject the vote count from several swing states and save the Trump presidency. Yeah, it did work though, did it, Mikey? I mean, actually, Mike Pence didn't do this. He's the good guy. I don't know why I said that. Should have said like Don.
But she didn't.
Have you ever felt that your online privacy was slipping through your fingers, like your every move was being watched? Well, fear not, because I've got the solution for you, and that is today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. With Surfshark, you can protect all of your internet activity easily. Just a couple of clicks and bam, your online activities are shielded from prying eyes. And guess what? Your location won't complicate your plans anymore. Whether you're in Bali or Boston, Surfshark has your back. Plus, with Surfshark, you can kiss geo-blocks goodbye and indulge in your favorite shows from anywhere in the world. Plus, the Surfshark's add-on security combo, it's like having a personal bodyguard for your online life. So look, what are you waiting for? Protect your privacy today with Surfshark VPN. And don't forget to use the promo code BLAZE at surfshark.deals/blaze for an extra 3 months for free. Check the link out in the description below, and thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring. Now back to it. On that fateful day, as protesters gathered outside the Capitol building, Trump gave a speech which, even for him, set new records regarding the spouting of alternative facts. He took aim at the Dominion voting machines, claiming that they had been reprogrammed to switch Trump votes to Biden votes. Isn't this the thing that Fox got sued over for an extraordinary amount? Because they were like talking about this, and it's like, no, they were like spreading that they were tampered with, and they weren't. And they had to pay, like, wasn't it like a billy? He tossed around a veritable salad of spurious polling numbers, the only time the words Trump and salad have ever been used in the same sentence. Very nice, Dave. And he actively encouraged the crowd to march on the Capitol building. Curiously, during the speech, he intimated that he himself would march with them, a suggestion which, until he came off stage and denied saying it, sparked some concern among members of the Secret Service. It's like, no, I never said that. It's like, Mr. President, you do realize that things like this are televised. Like, we do record these. Those cameras, they're not just to live, and then that's it. They're recorded. It's 2024, Donnie. In any case, it has been widely accepted that the speech, coupled with several inflammatory tweets, if it didn't cause the riot, then it certainly made the situation much worse. All of this, to the best of my knowledge, and I've studied that day and the events leading up to it extensively, is true. So what were the thoughts of our old friend, Mr. Joe Rogan? Put simply, he appears to believe that the entire thing was orchestrated by the CIA and the FBI. FBI, open up! No, he doesn't, please. I mean, please. On the 28th of July, 2021, when speaking with comedian Jim Gaffigan, Rogan said, "The January 6th thing is bad, but also the intelligence agencies were involved in provoking people into the Capitol building. That's a fact." Got any fact? You got any evidence to back up that fact? Joey? Come on. While this particular conspiracy theory has pointed the finger at several individuals allegedly working on behalf of the CIA, the person to whom the finger has most returned is Ray Epps, a pro-Trump protester and former supporter of the president. Although Epps was definitely there that day, the fact that he would later plead guilty to a single charge of disorderly conduct sort of proves this. There is simply no evidence that he, or indeed anyone at all, worked to destabilize the situation on behalf of any government agency. Unfortunately for Epps, Tucker Carlson, the former ratings leader at Fox News before he was unceremoniously taken off the air as an unofficial part of Fox's settlement over the Dominion lawsuit. Wait, is that true? I mean, unofficially, allegedly, thought otherwise and persistently told the nation, or at least those members of the nation who believe anything from Fox News, that he was to blame. During his sentencing, Epps told the court, "Trust in elected officials and Fox News led to my gullibility in believing the election was stolen. What I witnessed was rage and vulgarity on a level I've never seen before, and it was generated by people like me, not the FBI or Antifa." When Rogan was asked exactly why he believed that the security services would want to start a riot, he said, "Trump was very open about his disdain for the intelligence agencies. Throughout history, people have unchecked power and unchecked influence of enemies, and Trump was their enemy." Again, that is just circumstantial at the very best. As Trump-based conspiracy theories go, this one appears to be even more flaky than usual. Nuclear tests were faked. Possibly in order to celebrate the release of Oppenheimer, Rogan and his guest of the week, billionaire venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, struck up a conversation about nuclear testing, more specifically about whether or not the videos and photographs of nuclear detonations carried out by the United States military were in fact real. Mark Andreessen's a very bright dude, right? Like Joe Rogan's an entertainer. He's like me. We don't have to be smart. Mark Andreessen, he runs Andreessen Horowitz. He's like a billionaire investor with a big brain. According to Andreessen, there are those out there who believe that all of this footage was created in order to scare the Soviet Union. According to a quote that I lifted wholesale from MSN.com, purely because transcribing it directly from the podcast would have taken ages, Andreessen said, "You've seen all the grainy footage of nuclear test blasts. Well, there's always been a conspiracy theory that those were basically all fabricated at this facility, that those bombs actually were never detonated. Basically, the US military, is basically faking these bomb tests to freak out the Russians." I mean, he hasn't said whether he believes this. It's just like me saying, yeah, there's a moon landing conspiracy. People don't believe that we landed on the moon. That doesn't imply that I believe in it. But also, this is very similar to the moon landing conspiracy, because sure, immediately after the event, it's not unreasonable to believe that maybe there were some shady goings on. But after decades, after half a century plus, longer, for the nuclear tests, someone, somewhere, because so many people were involved, would have had a deathbed confession. Yet, nothing.
Yeah, logic, bitch!
When Rogan asked him why people thought that the videos had been faked, he said, "So what happened to the camera? How is that happening, yet the camera is like totally stable and fine? And by the way, the film is fine. The radiation didn't cause any damage to the film." Well, weren't the cameras like really far away? In an unusually open-minded move for a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience, Andreessen appeared to be more than happy to admit that these theories could, in fact, be complete falsehoods. So, is there any possibility that this theory might be true? Well, let's start with the not unreasonable point that the camera nor the film seem to have sustained any damage at all. Well, as you may be surprised to hear, these were not your average off-the-shelf point-and-click cameras. According to Peter Curran, author of How to Photograph an Atomic Bomb, the type of film used was very slow and not very sensitive to radiation. Yet these cameras still needed a couple of inches of lead around them. The camera setups were designed to stay in place and handle the blast pressure. Now, I don't know about you, but that certainly sounds logical to me. Yes, it would. He seems like an actual historian. However, as these things have an annoying habit of doing, the suggestion put forth by Andreessen quickly spread throughout various social media platforms. Andreessen never said that he believes in this. He just said some people do. Not only that, it began to mutate as if it had been subjected to a high dose of radiation, and as a result of this, by the end of the week, there were people who claimed that atomic explosions in general were fake. This particular... Hello? Hiroshima calling? What the... This particular evolution of the theory resulted in a somewhat testy outburst from Alex Wellerstein, a renowned nuclear historian. He told AFP that to imagine this conspiracy to be true is to imagine that essentially all scientists in the world are in on it and none have bothered for any reason to dispute it. It is stupid, exactly. At some point, someone's gonna be like, yeah, we faked it. No, but nothing. Zero. As to exactly how proponents of this theory explain what happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's not entirely clear. To be fair, I listened to this episode in its entirety. I suffered so you don't have to, and neither Rogan nor his guest appeared to be taking it too seriously. It was just the rest of the internet that went mental. Yeah, and this is what happens when you clip things out of context. Like, I have listened to Joe Rogan's podcast many times. Many episodes I've enjoyed. Do I think Joe Rogan believes some things, and do I disagree with him on many things? Yes. Sure, but also a lot of the stuff that if you don't watch it that you disagree with is like sliced clips taken out of context like this and then blown up by the internet. When do I get to go hunting homeless people for sport? Look, morally bankrupt. Because I like money. Because I like money, okay? Look, morally bankrupt. Vaccinations are not necessary, and a host of other COVID-19 stuff. I expressed this opinion in the last episode, but it's possible that some viewers haven't watched it yet, so I'll touch on it briefly once more. Having an opinion on stuff is great. Sharing that opinion with those around you is, by and large, also great. Sometimes you just want people to shut the f*** up. Unfortunately, when millions of people every week listen to your opinions, many of whom hang on your every word and take what you have to say far more seriously than you should, well, you have a certain moral responsibility to your listeners. This moral responsibility includes, but is not limited to, not providing medical advice when you have no idea what you're talking about. Rogan fell foul of this unwritten guideline when, on the 23rd of April 2021, he told his listeners that if they were young and healthy, then they really had no need to get vaccinated. While talking to alleged comedian Dave Smith. I have no idea who Dave Smith is, but I get the feeling Dave doesn't like him. Dave, writer of today's episode. He said, if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I'll go, no. Well, I mean, let's all listen to you, Dave Smith. Did I? Oh, no, you were a comedian and not a healthcare professional. Interesting. While this in itself raises a number of questions, not least of all being who is actually asking Joe Rogan for medical advice, it quite ably demonstrates a complete lack of understanding as to exactly how herd immunity works. If that had been all he had to say on the matter of vaccinations, then I guess it would have not been too bad. However, there was so much more. On the 12th of January 2022, while speaking with the Australian broadcaster Josh Sepps, Rogan claimed that the risk of developing myocarditis, described by the British Heart Foundation as inflammation of the heart muscle among young people, was much greater if they had been vaccinated against COVID-19. Sepps, who appears to have done his homework, immediately called him out on the basis that this wasn't true. I think I saw this episode.
Great job.
According to data published by the US Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which was subsequently republished in The Guardian, there was a rate of about 450 myocarditis cases in every million COVID-19 infections among boys aged 12 to 17, compared to 77 cases a million after vaccination. Oh no. What this data seems to indicate, and I admit that analysis of medical data is not a particularly strong point of mine, It might not be, Dave, but this one is very simple. Is that an unvaccinated young person who catches COVID is far more likely to develop myocarditis than a young person who has received a vaccination. But just exactly what treatment does the great medical oracle recommend if the worst should happen if you come down with COVID? Oh no, this was the one about ivermectin, which was just delusional. Well, that would be ivermectin, a medication which, among other things, you may be prescribed if you get threadworms from, say, a poorly maintained buffet on a horrendously mislabeled luxury cruise. I think that's what actually happened to Dave. I think he's talked about it previously. To be fair to Rogan, and I feel like I've said this a lot in this episode, he had this miracle cure recommended to him by his guest, the evolutionary biologist Brett Weinstein, who said, ivermectin alone, if properly utilized, is capable of driving this pathogen to extinction. Evolutionary biologist, that sounds like a real scientist. Let's see what's going on here. So, is it? Has COVID-19 been wiped out by worming medicine? Well, no, obviously not. But can it help in any way at all? Well, that depends on who you believe. If you believe the medical research team at Oxford University, who in 2023 published an article called Study Supports Evidence Ivermectin Not Effective to Treat COVID-19, then no. The article, which is long and boring, eventually reaches the following conclusion. Our study shows there is no support for the continued use of ivermectin in treating COVID-19. As I write this, I can feel people writing comments to the effect that there are several studies that show ivermectin is effective in treating COVID-19. My preemptive answer to those comments, and I'm under no delusions that this will prevent them from being written, is that at least in the ones that I have read, the data is at best misleading and at worst cherry-picked. Rogan, however, seemed dead set on believing his guest, and when he himself came down with the virus, he was quick to inform his fans that he was taking ivermectin. So, what's the problem with that? Surely it's his body and he can take the risks. The problem is that many of his listeners, when they came down with the virus, wanted to try this new miracle cure. Because the FDA has not approved the use of this drug for this purpose, writing on their website, the FDA has not authorized or approved ivermectin for the treatment or prevention of COVID-19 in people or animals, and ivermectin has not been shown to be safe or effective for these indications. So people started taking a slightly different version that was only intended for consumption by animals. The FDA has the following to say on the matter. Some forms of animal ivermectin are approved to prevent heartworm disease and treat certain internal and external parasites. It's important to note that these products are different from the ones for people and are safe only when used in animals as prescribed. What a surprise that taking animal drugs isn't good for you. Weird. While this may very well be more of a misinformation campaign than an actual conspiracy, one doctor from Iowa, who was kind enough to speak with me about the matter, claims, and I would like to make perfectly clear that this evidence is only anecdotal, that the mere fact that Rogan mentioned it on his podcast led to an increase in people being admitted to his hospital due to having accidentally overdosed on this medication. As overdosing on ivermectin can lead to side effects such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, hypotension, low blood pressure, allergic reactions, itching and hives, dizziness, ataxia, problems with balance, seizures, coma, and even death, you should probably only take it if it's prescribed to you by a doctor rather than, say, a UFC commentator.
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
Yes. Interesting thought there, isn't it? To take the drugs that your doctor prescribes. Weird. Rich people hunt homeless people for sport. Oh, what? I do not know this one, and I love it. When do I get to go hunting homeless people for sport?
You are only here because my father wants to hunt you.
I don't know about you, but I've noticed quite a decline in the number of homeless people these days. When I was a kid, they were everywhere. I remember I went to New York. Decade plus ago. Could it nearly? No, 2008, 2009, around then. And there was some American dude, and I don't remember the exact situation or whatever. But I asked him, like, yo, New York doesn't sound too bad. Like, in the movies and stuff, it's like dirty and there's homeless people everywhere. And he's like, oh yeah, Rudy Giuliani got rid of all the homeless people. And I'm like, wow, how'd you do that? Well, the rumor is he put them all on a boat, sent them out to sea, and set it on fire. And I'm like, holy. I mean, one, goddamn, and two, whoa, look at America with sarcasm. So where they've all gone? I mean, it's certainly not down to an actual increasing living standards brought to you by the UK Tory government, who, when planning for the Olympics, simply moved them all away from high traffic areas to create the illusion that Britain did not in fact have a homeless problem at all. I mean, why would you bother investing time and money in a problem when you can much more easily use the police to move the problem out of high profile areas?
That was the stinky police. They're coming for you.
If you, like me, have been wondering just exactly where the homeless population has been going, then never fear. Mike Tyson has the answer. Wait. Mike Tyson says that rich people, of which Mike Tyson is one, have been hunting homeless people for sport. Mike, have you just been out on the weekends hunting homeless people for sport, thinking it's a normal thing? Don't do that, Mike. It's weird.
What? Oh yeah, achievement unlocked.
During one of his appearances on the Joe Rogan podcast, the former heavyweight boxing champion went some way to conclusively proving that there may be a connection between being repeatedly punched in the head and coming up with stupid ideas. There is? What? When he said the following: whatever you think a human did to another human being, it happened. Whatever it is, it happens. Wait, so if I just think of something, it's happened. Mike. Really? Really, my dude? No. Now this, broadly speaking, is probably true. After all, I mean, sure, for like regular, but you could come up with some crazy situations like, no, I mean, Mike Tyson has probably punched a goat to death on the moon. I mean, it happened in my mind, so it happens. Right, Mike? Right?
No.
After all, the world is an exceptionally up place, and as frequent visitors to the casual criminalist will know, if you can imagine it, somebody has done it to somebody. And I'm not just talking about porn. However, what Tyson said next really does stretch the boundaries of credibility. In reference to top secret members of the world's elite, he said they take these homeless people off the streets, put them in there, take them to one of those special hospitals. They then take them from the hospital, all drugged up, take them to those large property estates. Property, let's hunt, run. You just word saladed that conspiracy theory, Mike Tyson, which is not surprising. You've been hit in the head many times. Whilst it is definitely worth mentioning both Tyson and Rogan indulged in a substantial amount of marijuana during the filming of the podcast, Tyson claims on multiple occasions that he absolutely believes this to be true. Whilst this all sounds suspiciously like the plot of the short story, The Dangerous Game, perhaps that's the point. Mike Tyson got high, watched a movie, and then got confused that it was the news. Maybe when you've taken as many drugs as Mike Tyson has over the years, things that you've read, or in Tyson's case have had read to you, may blend seamlessly with reality to the point where you have absolutely no idea what is real and what is fiction. Whilst I'm sure Joe Rogan was right when he said, I guarantee you there's been someone somewhere in the world who paid someone to hunt a person, I am, shall we say, somewhat skeptical towards claim that it's happening regularly at organised events organised by rich posh twats all across America. Of course, if anybody has any irrefutable evidence that proves that this is going on, please do feel free to let me know about it in the comments section and let me know where I can sign up, right, Dave? Actually, now that I've given it a little bit of consideration, maybe you should tell the police. Yes, and that's where we end today's episode. Thanks for being here. Okay, look, morally bankrupt.